Hello everyone, welcome to today's class, and today's class is Eiffel Tower Awful Tourists. Let's look at language focus. 1번. Just out of curiosity, it might be interesting to walk around Seoul and see how long it takes before you see an image of the Eiffel Tower. So just out of curiosity is what we'll be focusing here. Use just out of curiosity to express that somebody wants to find out what about something just because it would be interesting to know. Okay, so very simply, if I could put it in Korean, it'd be just like 그냥 궁금해서 물어봤어요. I asked. Just because I was curious, I asked. 그런데. Or I guess some people use 호기심, like curiosity. So, to be honest with you, I think it's very, very much this. So, just out of curiosity, I'd like to find out what's it like to live in Greenland. So, 당시 호기심으로 그린랜드에 사는 곳이 어떤 곳인지 알고 싶습니다. I believe Greenland is very cold, no? It's very scarce, not many things in Greenland. Though, to be honest with you, after saying that, I guess I agree with this person because I would like to live in a very deserted sort of country where there's not much around, not many people around. You know, I love Seoul, but there are too many people in Seoul. Another example. Just out of curiosity, I asked Ayad how old he was. So, 호기심에 아야드에게 몇 살이냐고 물어봤어요. So maybe he looks very young, or maybe he looks very old, doesn't matter, just uncertain. 궁금해서 물어봤어요. So just out of curiosity. I use this expression a lot, actually, because I'm always curious about things. Some people might say nosy. I'll teach you something right now. Nosy. Nosy is like curious, being like to be curious in almost a rude way. Like wanting to know everything. That's another word for you to learn today. Nosy. Okay. 2번. When the tower was first built in the late 1800s, it was meant to be a temporary monument. Okay. So as you can see, I've highlighted meant to be, where we use it to describe the original intent or purpose of something. Okay, so example, 원래 이렇게 원하는데 나중에 바꿨어요 아니면 like it stayed the same. Example, in the late 1800s, the Eiffel Tower was supposed to be just temporary, but it stayed in history until these days. So the original purpose, though, was it for to be temporary. So if we look at our example here, right? So the lighthouse was meant to be a guiding light for ships, but now it is just a tourist attraction. So 이 등대는 배의 안내등이 되기 위한 곳이었지만 지금은 그저 관광 명소일 뿐이다. So a long time ago, that lighthouse was to help ships. But now these days, maybe the ships don't go towards that area, and now it's just a tourist attraction. Or, the Great Wall of China was meant to be a defensive structure to keep invaders out. 만리장성은 침략자들을 막기 위한 방어용 건축물이었다. So, originally, people were trying to invade China This may have been the Europeans or whoever it was, the Mongolians, etc., etc. I don't know too much about Chinese history, but it was there as a defensive structure to keep out invaders. But like the lighthouse in our previous example, it is now a tourist attraction. Alright, now let's look at the language focus quiz. Just out of curiosity, I'd like to try. Remember, just out of curiosity was like 뭐 그냥 궁금해서 그런데 물어봤어요. Blah blah blah. So, just out of curiosity, I'd like to try horse meat. 그냥 궁금해서 말고기를 먹고 보고 싶어요. Not really, to be honest with you. I don't really want to try it. I would try it out of curiosity, but I won't go out of my way. 2번. Just out of curiosity, I want to ask about I want to ask you about something personal. Is that okay? 그냥 궁금해서 그러는데 개인적인 일을 여쭤보려고 하는데 괜찮으신가요? So maybe it was like, where were you born? Or how old are you? 등등등등. 3번. Was meant to be a monument to Remember, was meant to be. We used to describe the original purpose, but things changed. Like we said, like the lighthouse was meant to be a guiding light for ships, but now it's just a tourist attraction. 이 둥대는 배 안에 등이 되기 위한 것이었지만 지금은 그저 관광 명소일 뿐이다. So, was meant to be a monument to Okay. Say the statue was meant to be a monument to the founder of this country. 규조가상은 이 나라의 창시자를 기념하기 위한 것이었다. So, usually people who founded a country have a monument of them somewhere in the country. Usually. 4번. Was meant to be temporary, but it became a permanent thing. Like the internship was meant to be temporary, but it became a permanent thing. internship은 일시적인 것이었지만 이제는 영구적인 것이 되었다. So I got a full-time job from the internship, as an example. Alright, now let's move on to the further discussion. 1번. What sort of reputation do American tourists have in your country? 당신 나라에서 미국인 관광객들은 어떤 평판을 가지고 있나요? So I'm not a big fan of American tourists because American tourists usually walk around like they are the best people in the world, and they're not. They're loud, they're annoying, and if you're an American watching this, just don't be loud and annoying, and then everything is fine. In Australia, they're kind of seen as arrogant. In Korea, they're kind of seen as arrogant. To the world, they're kind of seen as arrogant. And they know that. That's the thing. And that's arrogant. And I mean, like, listen, I've heard when you go to America, Americans are the nicest people that you can come across. But when they travel, they're very stubborn. They're very privileged, to say sometimes. Here in Korea, if you're American, I think in some ways you get handled with kid gloves a lot. However, let's not get too deep into this because I could talk about it all day. 2번. How would you describe your country's drinking culture? I think that should be your country's. How do you think most people just enjoy a little bit with a good meal, or do they get drunk? 당신은 당신의 나라의 음주 문화를 어떻게 설명할 것인가? 당신은 대부분의 사람들이 단지 좋은 식사와 함께 약간 즐길 분이라고 생각하는가? 아니면 그들이 취하려고 술을 마시다고 생각하는가? So in Australia, I think the younger, to be honest with you, I think in Australia and Korea, from my experiences, the younger generation are always the wild ones drinking. In Korea, I do feel like a lot more people in the older generation drink a lot as well, irresponsibly. You hear a lot of drink driving cases in Korea. But I feel like maybe, even though drinking is a part of Australian culture, I feel like drinking is has a stronger presence here in Korea because they have their own rice wine or soju, right? It's part of culture, it's part of history here in Korea. In Korea, I think a lot of people can enjoy it with food, and it's often paired with food. However, I do think a lot of people can go over that limit quite a lot and very easily because soju is so cheap. Anyway, that wraps it up for today, and I'll see you on the next class.
Iconic.
Iconic.
Hideous.
Hideous.
Dead giveaway.
Dead giveaway.
Stereotype.
Stereotype.
Pace oneself.
Pace oneself.
Determine.
Determine.